Welcome, welcome. How y'all doing? Hey, y'all. Hey, Gary Chan, how's it going? Hey, Permados. Hey, everyone. Yes. So, today, give me 1 second. Today, folks, we're going to... By the way, if you can hear me okay, give me a 1 in the chat or just let me know. I'm going to try that 1 in the chat kind of approach that streamers love to do. But if you can hear me, please let me know. And if I'm not competing with my music, levels-wise, what we're going to be doing, thank you, Rivera, I appreciate it. We're going to be building a workflow from scratch today. Basic text to image with some bells and whistles, but otherwise very, I think, doable. But then again, I have a lot of experience with it, so I guess you'll have to be the determining party. But I'll make it as doable as I can. And let's just slap it together, and by the end, we'll start actually animating some of the results. I will not be building this one out right here, but I'll be building out a basic text to image, and even an image to image, as you'll see as well. It's pretty easy to switch it up. Greetings from Belgium. Nice to meet you, friend. So, as you can see, I created a monstrosity earlier. Truly, the definition of a monstrosity. It did kind of a weird, like a bacteria pattern thing with the cat here. Like, you know, when you see microscopic bacteria, I don't know, that's what the text reminds me of. But enough of that. Let's clear our workspace, clear over here, and we're left with literally nothing. And so we need to start off with a load checkpoint, which is our model. Load checkpoint. Start out just about every workflow with this node right here. And we're going to do Stable Diffusion XL today because it produces slightly nicer results than 1.5. Not quite as nice as Flux. I know that's the hottest thing right now, but Flux is still not great as far as certain things like animation. Or in other words, I just don't understand it as well. I don't know it as well as I do Stable Diffusion. So that's what we're going to stick with today. And we're going to choose for our model, we're just going to do Mobius, which is a mainstay for me. And from the checkpoint, we need to start by getting a positive and negative prompt. Let's drag out from the clip. And there should be a clip text encode. Perfect. We need 2 of these though, so I'm going to copy, paste another one for positive, 1 for negative. And by the way, I did a Control-Shift-V instead of just a Control-V. By doing so, it automatically links it the same way that this is linked. It's very convenient. Just a bit of a shortcut. And if you're still following, this isn't going to be like a perfect workflow to my standard, but I will get it as close as I can. And part of that means labeling things appropriately. This top one will be a positive prompt, and the bottom will be negative prompt. Basically, I just right-click on the node right here. I go down to title. I click on title, and I relabel it. So negative prompt. And then lastly, for visual aid, we will color code it. Negative is usually red. Positive is usually green. I'm 5 getting babysat by my Aunt Fane. Nice. Oh, I love Bob Ross. That's so cool. Cool thing to watch with family. With anyone, really. Bob Ross is amazing. And so we need to invoke our K-Sampler node, which is where all the magic happens. K-Sampler. This is where we essentially take our information, our prompts, basically us communicating with the AI and telling it, hey, take this random image of noise and denoise it down into a coherent image that we can actually understand and enjoy. This is the node that's responsible for all the good stuff. I never expected the dude behind this page to be normal. I don't know if I'd call myself normal. That's what this reminds me of. Nice. Okay, I will take it. I love Bob Ross. So let us go and plug our positive and negative into the K-sampler, because that's one of its expectations. And what we'll also need is a latent image. So let's drag out from, by the way, just so you know, these are inputs for our K-sampler. Basically, every node has its inputs and then it has its outputs. The inputs, as the name suggests, is what it's expecting to receive, and the output is what it will be transmitting out to other nodes that need to know what it provides. Is kind of a weird way to put it, but anyways, one of the things that this node expects is a latent image. Oops, miswired a couple things here. So we will drag latent image down and we will give it what it wants. We're going to need an empty latent image node right here. You see that? And what this is basically going to provide is like a blank canvas, basically like an image, a pre-image, if you will. It's nothing special. It's not a great image, but it's basically just a canvas of noise, chaotic random noise, dots on a screen. And then what the K-sampler's responsibility is to take that random canvas of noise and denoise it, which means basically go through all the different dots on the screen and organize them intelligently until they create a coherent image that we can actually work with. Oh, thanks, 20 hours. I appreciate that. Normal is an insult. 100%, I would agree. I would never want to be called normal. Who wants to be normal? So for Stable Diffusion XL, the size that it typically wants to work with, although you can play with it, is 1024 by 1024. That's its base resolution. And you can go down, you can even go up, but at least for the purpose of today, we will stick with 1024. And we've given it what it wants, pretty much. The last thing it does need is the model. So we're going to... It needs to know what model we're using, obviously. So we're going to go back to our very first node here, the load checkpoint. Take our model right here, bring it all the way into K-sampler. And now it knows exactly what model it's going to use to denoise with. Kind of a nice visual trick we can do here is we can reroute nodes, which is basically... Say you have a really big and sprawling workflow and you have wires flying all over the place. It can be helpful to have a rerouting node, which the only purpose of which is to well reroute. And it kind of allows you to take this and drag it elsewhere on your workflow, like over here if you need it. And then just, it's a lot easier than like clicking and dragging your wire all the way out to wherever. It's just a lot more manageable this way. But in this case, it's going to be nice to just float it right above our node here and then plug it into K-sampler. Just looks a little nicer than the default of going behind a node. In this case, kind of looks a little more organized. So that's that. And our K-sampler has everything that it needs to make us an image. All we need to do now is take its output and put it into a preview node, preview image node. Actually, no, that's the step after this. Before we can preview our image, this needs to be decoded. VAE decode is what it wants to do. So basically what happens is there's an encoding and a decoding process. You start by encoding your latent image into latent space, and it's a little complicated. It's a little lofty to understand, but latent space is basically the computer's world. It's where the computer is assembling the image for you. And you can't really see behind the curtain at what it's doing, but just know that this is the space where all the magic happens. And in order to, I guess, so the encode is giving the information into that space, the decoding is receiving it back. And what you're receiving back is the actual image. Is really my best understanding of the whole process. And I know it's very complex, really. And there's probably so much more about it that I'm not even understanding, but that's the general premise. So what we're going to need to do after the magic happens in K-sampler is decode those results before we can actually see our image. So that's what's happening right here. And then lastly, we can finally preview our image or save our image. As a matter of fact, the save image node already has a built-in preview, so we don't even need the preview node. We can just output right here. And now, without further ado, we can finally prompt our image. So let's do something basic and fun. Smiling cat on a skateboard. And for our negative prompt, it doesn't necessarily expect to have anything here, but it can be nice if you don't want certain things in the image. Like maybe I'll just type ugly or blurry, just to really tell the AI, hey, listen up, I do not want the image to be ugly or blurry, and I want to make that a priority. So that's what the negative prompt is accounting for. And now we're finally ready to generate our image. We go over to QPrompt. You can't really see it on the screen, can you? It's the menu that usually floats off to the right, but I can disconnect it and show it to you here. This is your kind of just menu inside of Comfy. And anytime you want to queue up a new prompt and make a new image, you just click QPrompt right up here at the top. So QPrompt. Oh, and we're getting our first error message. The error is that the decode node, the VAE decode, it doesn't actually have a VAE. So the encoding and the decoding requires a model called a VAE model to actually perform that encoding and decoding process. It's a little complicated, I understand, but all we're going to really need to do, and I believe Mobius has a built-in VAE. They don't always, but usually they will. I can just drag out from the load checkpoint node right on into decode right here. And that should give it what it wants. Let's QPrompt again and see if we get something good. Okay, it's loading the model. Okay, yep. Looks like it got what it needed. So we have our smiling cat on a skateboard. It's actually a pretty good image, if I'm being honest. And as complicated as that did look at times, that's really the only thing you need to know to get up and running with Stable Diffusion and AI images in general. With obviously a lot more functionality to be added on to take it into newer directions, but this is all you need to get to this point right here. And if you want to review what I've just shown you over the last 10 or so minutes, you can check my YouTube channel. All of these live streams are automatically archived over there after I end the stream. And so if you want to walk through it again, it should be there for you. And okay, so where do you download the different checkpoints? There's a number of places to get them from. Civitai.com is probably the most widely used resource for open source AI, and it has basically any model that you would ever need. It's civitai.com, CIVIT-AI.com. And let me just, I'll kind of give you a little preview of it, but before I do, and I'll explain why I'm starting by hiding it off to the side, you got to set certain settings. It's not a very safe for work website. I'll just put it out there right now. You know, as to be expected, the open source community is very colorful with what they choose to create, but luckily and handily, there is a little option at the very top here. Actually, it's not so bad to look at. I'll show you right here. There's a little option in the top right corner to control for the type of content. So we'll just put it on PG-13 mode, blur mature content, just so we don't run into any issues. So I want you to explain my life. I'm afraid I can't. I can't even explain my own life. Can anybody? Can anybody explain what's going on here? None of us know. None of us chose this. Or maybe we did. So let's hop back over here. Hey guys, I noticed you're sending some flags. I guess Brazil and some others. It's good to see you all. I'm happy to have you here. 42, perfect answer. There you go. Was that from something Guide to the Galaxy? I can't quite remember the reference. So now that we have a very, very basic, and I know it doesn't look that basic, but this is the most bare bones setup you can possibly hope to have for text to image AI. How do you make videos then? There's a few more nodes involved in the video making process. It's something known as Animate Diff. It's basically an extension to Stable Diffusion that, well, allows for video creation. It makes batches of multiple images. It basically makes images just like you see here, but it makes batches of them in whatever number you want, and that's basically the frames of your video. And then using its algorithms, I guess, it intelligently stitches together those images in a coherent sequence that somewhat makes sense to the eye. And that's, again, done using a model called Animate Diff. I'm not going to cover that too much today, like the installation of it, but that's just another cluster of 3 or 4 additional nodes that you would insert somewhere into this flow, probably usually around this area. I mean, you can put it wherever you want. Comfy can be rearranged, but yeah, that would be what would handle the animation. But let's add a little more functionality here. Let's put my headphone back in first. And let's think, what should we do? What's the next best stage? I think the next best stage is to show you what image to image looks like as opposed to text to image. That's a pretty good place to go from here. So the only thing we really need to do here is, instead of supplying our K-sampler with a latent image, we want to supply it with an actual image. It's with that image that we will essentially paint over and modify using AI, and the AI will hallucinate new details on top of that image in whatever direction you want. Roll into the gates of hell. I should. That's a great idea, actually. Maybe I'll do that towards the latter half of the stream when I'm animating this. I'm definitely going to save the cat, that's for sure. And I'm also going to upscale it in a moment too. You're going to see a pretty cool upscaling technique after the image to image. But let's do a basic image to image here. And again, like I was saying, all I'm going to do is, so I'm going to disconnect the latent image. We don't need it. I'm not going to delete it. I'm just going to disconnect it so we still kind of have it. But not that you need it. I just kind of want it handy, possibly for the resolution. But so now we still need to plug something into the latent image. So what are we going to do? First, we're going to do the load image node. And we're just going to load this node up with any image that you really want to mutate and modify. So let us find any old image here in my collection, ever-growing collection. Let's take this weird tongue alien thing. It's almost like a grotesque, realistic Pokemon or something. I don't know what to call it. But we're going to play with it. We're going to modify it and transform it a bit. So we have our load image node, but we actually need 2 nodes to make this happen. We need the load image, whereas with the basic text to image, you only needed this. This solution will require 2 nodes. It's going to be this, and then it's also going to be a VAE encode node, because like I was saying earlier, we need to encode information into the latent space for the AI to do its magic. And only then can it decode and deliver us back our results. You can kind of, think of it like the Upside Down from Stranger Things. It's just like a parallel reality where the magic takes place and then it sends it back. And this is known as your latent space. Hey, Nature's Peace, how's it going? My ex-wife, what? Okay, so now that we have our 2 requisite nodes, load image, VAE encode. And by the way, in case you're wondering, you probably are if you're paying attention, the empty latent node does not need a VAE encode node. It's already in a state that can be understood by the computer. It's already operating in latent space when you're plugging it into the K-sampler. So for that reason, you don't need to encode it. Whereas with this setup, you're basically sending in a pixel image, which is not compatible with latent space. That's why it needs the VAE encode node as an additional step. So now that we have our 2 nodes, we will plug this in just as before into latent image right there. And now we're more or less in a state where we can start doing image to image, start morphing and modifying it. So let's turn this into, I don't know, a purple alien. Let's keep it basic. Purple alien. And now the one real setting here in KSampler you need to concern yourself with in the image to image process is the denoise. Denoising will control how much or how little the AI dreams over your image or hallucinates new detail on top of it. If you set a denoise all the way to 1, you're essentially going to receive an image back that's completely unlike your original, because it's trying to denoise the entirety of that image. But conversely, if you bring this all the way down to 0, it will literally just pass this image right on through completely unaltered, because 0 denoising is taking place. That denoise is the word that it's a verb that means basically create the image, or yeah, create the image. I've actually never had to define denoise, but I think that probably does the trick. But because of that, this is the setting you're going to want to play with in an image-to-image workflow. And I can really just show you images or examples. I think that will do the best job at conveying my message. So let's start with a denoise of 0. Let's do QPrompt. Oh, we're missing one thing. This needs a VAE plugin. Just like the VAE decode needs to know which model to use, so too does the VAE encode. So let's go back to our first node, the load checkpoint. Let's take the VAE, plug it in. Now it should work. So QPrompt. And just like I said, because the denoise is set to 0, you'll notice it passed through our image just completely untouched. No denoise took place whatsoever. But now we will do ones side by side. We'll set it all the way to 1, and you'll notice that the result looks absolutely nothing like our original. And so now that you see what's going on, you can kind of play in between. So 0.5 is a really good place to start out. And if we do that, in fact, we'll do a third preview right here just to see. So 0.5 denoise, as you can see now, is starting to bring in some of that original image while providing new details. And so on the left is a denoise of 0, on the right's denoise of 1, and then the middle is really where the magic is going to happen. This is where you're going to play around with your denoise, anywhere from 0 to 1. So let's like set it maybe to, I don't know, 0.7. Let's see what 0.7 does, you know? So let's see what 0.7 does. 0.7. Okay, now 0.7 was obviously too high because it still looks nothing like the original. So bring it down to 0.6. See, now 0.6 is still somewhat, you know, resembling the original, but quite its own thing at this point. So at least for this image, I'd say 0.6 is probably the upper end of where you want to play. Maybe even 0.65 will still bear some resemblance. Well, it certainly brought in the shape of the head, but everything inside of the head is pretty different. But obviously you can see there's a lot of potential here to play around and experiment, and it can be anything you want. Let's just make it a cat, really. Just an orange tabby cat. How about we do that? Let's be specific. Orange tabby. And we're at denoise of 0.65. And the results are just simply not anything like the original. So let's bring it back to 0.5. And yeah, folks, this is crazy. It's so silly looking, but it's interesting, isn't it? GPU specs, I'm running off of an NVIDIA 4090. And I have 64 gigs of memory and a Core i9, I believe. One-on-one tutoring, yeah, you know, that's actually something I'm considering offering as some kind of AI consulting sort of deal. I will say I'm also working on a course. I will be putting a course out in the coming weeks or months. Hopefully not too long from now. 2 months I would aim for, no later than that, but certainly expect a course, and I'll be announcing more about it here on my page. You know what? I forgot to do something. Let's do this. Okay, now you should see a new link at the top. I actually wanted a couple links up there, including my Patreon link. No pressure, by the way, to visit my Patreon. This will always be completely free, any of the stuff that you're seeing. But, you know, anything helps. What software do I use? Comfy UI. Comfy UI is the name. Ah, yes, upscaling. Thank you, Artemis. I appreciate that. That's a good next step to go from here. So I think you probably have a pretty good idea now of image to image. There are more advanced techniques for image to image using something called an IP adapter, but that's a little outside of the scope of what we're doing right here today. But just know that that does offer a little finer control over the generation and the output. But this is good for now. Let's park it here. And delete these. We don't need these. And now let's just jump into the upscaling. So there's a few different ways to upscale. I think I'll probably just show you my favorite way today. Like for example, there's an upscale image by node, which you can certainly get away with. It doesn't really hallucinate a lot of new detail in a very interesting way. I'm not a huge fan of this node. I've kind of stopped using it as much lately, but I'll kind of just show you the results of it real quick. So all you'd really need to do to get an upscale out of our generation here is plop in this node here, upscale image by, and then from the VAE decode node, drag it out into this node. And then from there, you're going to need another preview image node or save image. So be sure to pop that out as well. And upscale method, I like Lanczos. From what I understand, that provides the most amount of extra detail, but you can play with that. And then scale by is basically how many times you want to scale by. So I usually do about 2x it. So since it's starting off at 1024, the result will be 2048. So let's give that a shot. Q prompt. Oh, we have a new image coming through too. And so, okay, it just made us, let's actually fix our seed. That way every image subsequently will look pretty much the same. A seed, by the way, is the starting point for your image. So if you leave it unfixed, all other settings accounted for, if you keep clicking Q prompt, you'll basically get the same image every time. But if you select like randomize or something like that, then every new image you make will be slightly different than the last. But for now, I want to keep it the very same. But as you can see here, folks, the upscale is not really that. So, I mean, it's not that impressive from Comfy, but if we open a new tab, so here's our non-upscaled, and then here is the upscaled. I don't know if you can see it too well in here, but it definitely upscaled it, like, in terms of sharpness, but it didn't offer any additional details, which is really kind of the fun of AI, is, like, hallucinating those extra details. So I'm going to show you a much more appealing upscaling process than this, and this is a custom node called Ultimate SD Upscale. Actually it might just be Ultimate SD Upscale. And this is a custom node. I don't think it comes stock with Comfy, but you can find it, I think, in the manager. If you go to install custom nodes and you search for Ultimate SD. Okay, so I don't think it's in the manager, but basically just Google Ultimate SD Upscale, and like your first link should be a GitHub page. Yes, it's a GitHub link. So you want to find the GitHub page for Ultimate SD Upscale. And if I recall correctly, you're just going to want to take the URL up top, just copy it right up here. And then, this is a bit in the weeds, I know. We'll get to the upscaling in a second, but just for those interested, take that URL that you just copied, go to your Comfy folder, the main directory, then go inside Comfy UI, custom nodes. And when you're in custom nodes right here, also you got to make sure you have Git installed, by the way. I won't be covering Git in this course, but just make sure that you have Git installed. And once it is, go up to the top bar right here and do git clone followed by the link that you copied. So git clone and then paste in the link. What you would do then is hit enter, and it should just put the node right into this folder, good to go. But I already have it, so I'm not going to do that. Once you've done that, though, I think you need to restart Comfy as a whole. You might not have to. I think you can just either hit refresh over in the sidebar right here, hit refresh, or just honestly, to be safe, I would just restart Comfy altogether. But anyways, I'm Just kind of going through the comments. Kind of lost track here. Need to make this on YouTube, says Andre. Yeah, I do want to make more tutorial style videos on my YouTube. I will say though that this should be archived over on my YouTube page afterwards. I've been automatically archiving these over there after each stream. So you can find me on YouTube at AI is Cursed. This is actually my page right here. AI is Cursed, and there's a live tab right here. You hit live and you should find an ever-growing archive of my live streams, including today's after it's done. So that should be cool. Also, am I getting any comments on other platforms? If I am, I apologize. Let me see. Has anything come through on Twitch or YouTube? Let me do a quick check. I don't see anything. If I missed any of you, I apologize. I mainly check my Instagram feed during these streams, but I'm still getting the hang of all this, so. Anyways, for those who are still following, and I hope that you're still here, try not to go on too many tangents, but I'm sure you want to see the result of this upscale node, so I will show it to you. Let's get rid of the upscale image by node because, like I said, it's not that great. And let's play with the ultimate one. So, same process, we drag out from the VAE decode into the ultimate SD upscale. And then the output of this will just basically be as before with the K-sampler. We're going to drag it into a save image node or a preview image node if you don't want to save it. But we're not done yet. As you can see, this has many other inputs. It requires some other stuff. Similar needs as the K-sampler, but a few extra needs as well. So just like the K-sampler, we're going to drag over our model. Oops. It's going to want our model. It's going to want our positive and negative inputs. It's going to want our VAE, just like the encode and decode nodes. So drag that over as well. And then lastly, it's going to want to know which upscale model to use. And there are many upscale models out there. For today's purposes, we're going to, first of all, we're going to drag out and we're going to find the upscale model loader node. See, it's plugging in right there, upscale model loader. And we're going to use the realistic rescaler model. That's a favorite of mine that I've been using lately. And I forget the website you can find this on, but if you Google it, I'm sure it'll pop right up. Realistic, actually the full name I think is 4X Realistic Rescaler. But you can use any model you want. And we can basically leave a lot of these settings more or less the same. And I'm not going to go over what a lot of them do right now, but one thing you do want to make sure is correct or changed is you want to make sure the resolution. So I think this is 1024 by 1024, right? I think that's the resolution we're working with. Oh no, it's 512 by 512. Oh, that's because the image to image that we used was 512. So this is actually fine. The tile width and the tile height, basically it upscales by, it's too much to explain in the span of this stream, but I think the thing to remember is tile width and tile height right here should match the resolution of the image going in. So because this is 512 by 512, that's what you're going to want to set that to. And it already is. So let's cube prompt. Oh, that's crazy looking. Look at that. But now as you can see, it's trying to upscale our image. How long does it take for you to make one of those videos that you post? It varies, my friend. It can, you know, it largely depends on like the first, well, it depends on a lot of things. I'd say like roughly anywhere from 1 hour to 3 hours to like really hone in a good solid video. Maybe even 4 hours sometimes. It varies, but yeah. All right, so we've just gone ahead and upscaled using the preferred method. And if you're able to see it like I can, there's definitely a lot more detail this time around, especially when you look at the cat. Like the cat on the left is a lot blurrier than the cat on the right now. It looks a lot cooler. And it's also hallucinated some new details, like some little freckles or something underneath the cat's eyes, which were not there previously. So definitely play with Ultimate SD Upscale. It's a great node, very versatile. I forgot I had coffee here. Why aren't I drinking coffee? Oh boy. You gonna eat the little kitty? Yes. It certainly looks this way. Fixed. So yeah, that's the upscale. I mean, there's a lot more to know about this, like what all these different settings do. I'm not going to cover that here, but I probably will in a future stream. I can't pronounce your name, Emery. I apologize, but my broadcasts for 2 years. I have only been broadcasting for a couple months, my friend, but thank you for that. Can you please tell me which program? The program is called Comfy UI. Comfy UI. Okay, let me, I want to also show you, before we actually animate any of this, which I'm going to end the stream on, just some fun little animations. And we are coming up to the hour, folks. We're about 20 minutes off. Before we get there, I'm going to take you, I'm going to show you the control nets. I'm going to show you what the control nets do. Yeah, it's a funny comment. All right, so what I'm actually going to do with the upscale is I'm going to select these 3 nodes associated with my upscale by holding Control and clicking and dragging over, just marqueeing them, basically. Marquee the selection. I'm actually going to put them in their own group so they're easier to manage. So once they're highlighted like this, I'm going to right-click anywhere, and I'm going to look for the Add Group for Selected Nodes button. I'm going to click that, and as you'll see, it will automatically group them, which is very convenient for various reasons. I'm actually, hang on one sec, guys. Going to pop back over to another flow. I'm going to borrow a couple nodes I have over here. I'll explain what these are in a second. So these 2 nodes right here, this is called a fast bypasser. It's part of a custom node pack called RG3. And what's great about fast bypasser is it basically lets you just like toggle a group on and off. So because it's sitting in the group now, I can literally click this like a light switch, and turn the entire group on and off, which is super handy, and I use it constantly. But that's what I'm going to do here. So we're not going to upscale things right now, but we are going to play with control nets, and I'll show you what those do in a sec. So to start, we are going to add in a control net node. So double click on your workspace anywhere, and then search for control net, and you're going to want to start with the apply control net node. See, apply control net. And as far as like where this goes in the overall flow of your workflow, I'll place it in a pretty easy to understand area. Basically, the control net operates on the prompting chain. So what it's expecting from your usual workflow is the positive and negative prompt. Actually, no, not always. That's not always correct. In this case, it's only expecting a positive prompt. There is an advanced control net node that for some reason takes positive and negative. I'm just going to focus. Yeah, I'm just going to focus on the regular control net node, which requests the positive. So drag the positive in, drag it out into KSampler. So basically this is intercepting, whereas the positive node would typically just plug directly into KSampler. I'm going to intercept that transmission with our control net node, if that makes any sense. And that's really how you get going with control net, at least to start. So now that that's plugged in, we're actually going to need to tell it which control net to use by dragging out this input right here. It says control net. Drag it out and find the control net loader, which dictates the control net we're going to use. There's a lot of different ones to use here, and I'm not going to explain what they all do, but you're going to see kind of the effects of it shortly. Just know that this model right here is basically a God mode like model, it provides a whole slew of control nets that would otherwise need to be installed manually. And I think it's a pretty recent thing that came out, but it's so useful. It's called a Model Pro Max. It's really sick. So I'm just going to use that as our control net. But what we also need is a preprocessor. Control net preprocessor. What my understanding is with this, it basically will, as it says, preprocess the, well, I'm trying to contextualize this for you so that it makes enough sense in the short time I have with you. But there's a lot to understand around ControlNet. It is rather advanced, but it's going to make the most amount of sense once you actually see it working. And you're going to see that in just a minute or two. So kind of just follow me for now as I'm setting everything up. And if I gloss over anything, it's going to be inevitable. It's just the complexity of this is outside of what I can cover in an hour or so. But just know that you do need this preprocessor node in conjunction with these other two. Apply ControlNet, load ControlNet model, and preprocessor. And we're also going to need an image input. So let's drag that out. We're going to do another load image here. And you're about to see like what that image does. But let's just find any old image. The ControlNet's basically going to trace over the input image. You're going to see the effects of that in a second. Reference photos. Let's use maybe that one. I kind of want a full... Let's just do this. So the ControlNet, like I just said, it's going to trace over this in a number of different ways. And we can dictate that by choosing our preprocessor. I'm going to choose line art. And line art's really cool. Let me show you what it does real quick. Let's preview the result of what line art does. I'm actually going to turn off the rest of our workflow for the moment, just so you can see what ControlNet does. It's very cool. So I'm going to Q prompt. And as you can see how sick this is, it takes your input image and it created line art out of it. It accurately predicted and traced over the contours and the edges of your image. It's super sick. Oh, thank you, Lola. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try and give a gentle... I mean, you got to be gentle with this information, right? Because it's just so complex by its nature. So I think I hope I'm doing a good job. I like the way... Thanks, Nature's Peace. Appreciate it. So that's one of many control nets and what they're capable of, line art. Let's also show you the depth map one, which derives a depth map. So let's unplug this. Let's choose depth. We can find it right down here, depth. And now when we run the Q prompt again, it's going to create a depth map out of this. See, look at that. It looks like an X-ray. It looks exactly like an X-ray. Just to really show you the power of these control nets. It's so cool. Let's do one more just for show, and then I'll show you what it actually does as far as our images are concerned. For our last one, I think we'll just do open pose, which is usually best for taking the pose of a dancer or a full figure and capturing the limb positions and things like that. I think it also is quite good at capturing face positions. So let's see if it can capture the eyes and whatnot. Let's Q prompt. Let's see what we get. Oh, actually, we got to do a different one. Let's just do pose. No, pose didn't work either. How about DW pose? No, not that one either. I've been having some weird issues with the open pose one lately. Let's try line art manga though, or line art anime. I think that's a slightly more detailed variant of line art. Yeah, I actually like line art more. Let's see what Canny does. What does Canny do? Oh, that's pretty cool. All right, let's do segment. I just want 3 distinct examples. I think segment will be a good one. Segment, as it says, basically segments out various parts of your image, like the background, the floor, the foreground, the subject. It's good at identifying different like actual patches. Okay, see, here we go. So it's intelligently detected the background and the foreground. So obviously you can see there's a lot of potential here. I'm just going to stick with line art. And by the way, guys, you can stack control nets as well. So if you want to tap into line art as well as depth map, just to give the AI all the more guidance in its generation, you can do that. And it really helps with the final result. But we're just going to go back to line art right here, line art. And we're going to reactivate the rest of our workflow. And we're going to see what we get. So I think we might be good to go as is. Let's see if it works. Q prompt. Oh, what is this? This image. It's expecting... I think... Okay, I think maybe it expects this. Oh, no. Okay. One last thing we did not do is... So the apply control net node, where it actually applies the control net, it's expecting an actual image. Like what will it be applying exactly? And the answer is this thing right here. So we need to drag this over into apply control net. And now we should be good to go. So Q prompt. And it looks like we're good. We're good. Okay. And we are good. It's making us something. Chaos is what it's making us. I love the work you do. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. So this is obviously chaos. And the reason primarily is because we've set the control net too high, much too high. We've set it to 1, which is the very ceiling of where to set it. Anywhere from 0 to 1. You usually want to play around like 0.4 to 0.6 and kind of go from there. I'm going to set it at 0.5 and see what we get, which basically means I want to add 50% prioritization to this as I'm generating my image. You can also think of it like, I like to describe it like the like this image here. This is your paint and this is your canvas, and it's tracing over this canvas with your paint. I hope that makes more sense once I actually generate this. Okay, so we've set it to 0.5 on the strength. It's still pretty insane to look at, but hopefully the idea is it takes our input for the control net, our input image, and it's trying to use that as like its structure. It's structuring our image using this skull. It doesn't look that much like it, and I think that will change if I actually change the depth map control net. Let's try depth. So we've changed it to depth, and let's see what we get now. Now it's even crazier. Also, I'm noticing the actual size of the image is not the right resolution. Maybe let's find a better... Actually, let's use one of the images we made recently, like a cat. Yeah, let's do the cat. So we'll use the cat as our control net reference. And also let's prompt it properly. Let's do like a happy alien on a skateboard. Okay, let's see what we get now. No, nothing yet. Let's bring the strength of it down to like 0.3 maybe? No. 0.2. So obviously it's not really picking up on... Maybe it's giving too much emphasis to our image to image. Let's go back to text to image for the moment, which is basically our original approach. So empty latent, oops, empty latent. Where is it? Hang on one sec, guys. Empty latent image, okay. Empty latent. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. So let's try it now. Oh no. Not quite. We got to bring the denoise back to 1. That's one thing. Okay. All right. Now we're getting much better results. I'm happy that we figured it out. So the image to image was having issues. And I don't know why at the moment. I'm sure there's a workaround, but now we're getting much better results after setting it back to text to image, which is basically the default workflow in Comfy. And as you can see now, we're getting a lot closer. So hopefully this kind of conveys in a nutshell what ControlNet is capable of. It takes the structure of your input and it paints over it with a new idea, with a new premise. How long have I been working on this one? Do you mean this, I think you'll have to elaborate. Which one is one? Like this image? This image, I just made it just now. I am Bolivia. Nice, Edward. Hello. But yeah, let's increase the strength. Now that it's actually working, let's bump the ControlNet strength up to 0.5. So it should come through a lot stronger now. Let's Q prompt and see what we get. Okay, yes. Oh, hell yeah. Now we're getting somewhere. Is it actually a combination of photo editing? Are you asking if this can serve as like a replacement to Photoshop or something? In some regards it can. There's a lot of nodes for Comfy that mimic a lot of the functionality in Photoshop. You can honestly get by doing a lot, maybe not everything. And certainly if you're someone like me who's a veteran in Photoshop, used it for like almost 20 years now, like I definitely use Photoshop for a lot of stuff still just because I'm so used to it. But Comfy can do a surprising amount that Photoshop can do. And a lot of stuff that Photoshop can't do, like what we're doing right here. This is some pretty novel territory. So yeah, obviously this is like really sick. And 0.5 is like a really good sweet spot for this, because this is like a really pleasing result for me. Let's actually upscale. Let's reactivate our upscale group. Let's Q prompt. And as you can see, it started right away on the upscale group. And that's because Comfy, because it's already like done all this stuff and because it's at a fixed seed, it has nothing else to generate in this new request. So it's fully, it's happy to just move on to the next step in the workflow, because it doesn't have to run through all this all over again since the seed is unchanged. And we just upscaled our result. It's pretty wacky, pretty weird. Let's animate it, shall we? So let me copy this. Let's go over to our old favorite animator right here. And I'm not going to explain any of this. We're kind of at the tail end of the stream here, folks, but this is the morphing workflow that I really like to play with on stream. How much is the software? This is completely free. Comfy UI is open source and totally free to use, which is amazing. Like pretty much all of this that you're seeing right here on a software level is totally free. The thing that obviously won't be free is the hardware, and you're really not going to want to skimp on the hardware if you want to take this seriously. I mean, there's alternatives. You can rent cloud machines that will run Comfy by the hour, like you'll pay by the hour, but on a software-wise, everything's free. So let's actually do a couple. I have an idea. Let me do some incrementally different results here just by slightly changing the ControlNet strength. So from 0.5 to 0.6 maybe. I think this will be kind of interesting. Actually, 0.5 to 0.7. We're going to do 4 images. We're going to morph between 4 images. And they're all going to be like mostly the same with slight variation. I don't even think I don't know what it'll do, but it's worth trying. Oh, these are not different enough. You know what, screw it. I'm just going to morph between the same image 4 times in a row. Just for fun. And let's see what we get. My voice changed to AI. Does it sound like an AI now? Can I make the cat gold? Yes, I can. That's a good idea. Although before I can make any more changes to the image, we're currently rendering our little video. And unfortunately with Comfy, you can only run one process at a time. unless you have multiple installs of it, which is not really advised. I've played around with that before, where you run multiple instances of Comfy at once. In that case, you can do you can multitask, but your computer will quickly get upset about it, and yeah, you might even crash your computer. So let's wait for this to finish real quick, and then I'll make a gold cat. Guys, he's an alien. If I'm an alien, that's news to me. That would be cool, though. That would be sick. Nice alien mug. Oh yeah, I'm drinking my alien mug, aren't I? I didn't even notice. How do I like my coffee? It's quite good today. I like it really like black. Just nothing in it. The stronger the better. So we got a couple seconds left, about 8 seconds on the animation. And I just noticed we didn't even prompt it. We didn't describe what the video should be. And as I've mentioned in previous streams, like you don't need to text prompt the videos here, because the IP adapter already is intelligent enough to see these images and prompt from there. But let's see what we get. Oh my god. That's so cool. That's hilarious. Saludos, Jason. What am I running GPU-wise? I am running an NVIDIA 4090. Yes, indeed. Yeah, isn't that sick? It's really cool. And this was like all entirely self, open source AI generated. I didn't have to use Midjourney for this. I didn't have to use any of these other tools like Runway or Luma. As fun as they are, like, all of what you've seen here so far on stream is just completely free if you have the hardware to run it. So yeah, there's a lot of potential here, obviously. If I drank coffee at this hour, I wouldn't be able to. Yeah, no, I'll probably be up for a little while. I'm actually so used to coffee at this point that I can pretty much go to bed soon after drinking it, within reason. That's not always the case, but it actually doesn't keep me up as much as it used to, because I'm so damn adapted. Let's do what you want. You want it to be like a golden cat? A golden cat riding a skateboard. Alright, let's try that. Q prompt. Let's see what we get. Nice. Not too shabby. Not too tabby. Your work is amazing. Thank you, Dank Nugs. I appreciate that. I really do. Can Comfy use multiple GPU? That's a good question. I think I heard that it cannot use multiple GPU. I would look that up, though. I don't have the exact answer, but I think I heard one time that it only runs on single GPU. Oh, you like the music? Thank you. Yeah, this is I made this music with Suno AI. I did like a lo-fi chill kind of mix. About 30 minutes worth of laid-back tunes that I can just loop on stream and not get copyright struck. Comfy can't use multiple GPU. Oh, okay. But you can run two yes, exactly. There you. Oh, one on each GPU. That's interesting. Yeah, I was just explaining earlier how like you can run multiple instances of Comfy, but at least in my experience, your computer can start to not be too happy about it and start freezing up. But yeah. So we have a kind of cute orange cat or golden cat. The eyes are a bit creepy. I'm not sure why that is. You know what though? Okay, we're not on the right resolution. Now that we're using text to image again, we want a base resolution of 1024 because we're on Stable Diffusion XL. So I think we'll get much better results now that we've scaled it up, including eyes that are not so creepy. And let's see what we get. Oh my god. Oh, that's so much better. That's actually a really good picture, considering I haven't upscaled or done anything with it. Does Udio also do... I believe it does sound effects, yeah. Udio will even do like... In fact, Suno probably does it now too. You can, I think, have it generate like live comedy sketches, like a like stand-up comedy skits. I don't know if it's like coherent English, but I've heard people do like actual like voiceover types of things with these platforms, which is insane. So it's not just music, and it's not even just sound effects. Purple eyes on the cat? Yeah, let's do purple eyes. That's a good idea. A golden cat with purple eyes. And because we're using Mobius, by the way, we're like, I love Mobius's ability to adhere to your prompt. It can take some pretty complex, lengthy prompts and do a pretty good job, as distinct from other models. So I'm actually a really big fan of this model. Nice. It even gave us a purple background. Gold-plated cat? A gold-plated cat. It's just going to be another orange tabby, I think. Oh, okay. It made like a gold-plated necklace and wheels and stuff. It's pretty sick. Let's do golden armor metallic. Let's do that. Oh, hell yeah. This will be cool. Yes. So majestic. Hey, Talib, thank you so much. Cat sipping on the double cup. How about cat sipping from a goblet of wine? It's not going to do it because it's using a control net. It's not going to lift its arms. But maybe if I ease up on the control net, it'll give it the flexibility to do it. So let's bring it back to 0.5. No. How about 0.2? Yes. 0.2 is going to do it. Hell yeah. So check this out. Yes. So funny. Hey, Jose. Nice to meet you. It's so funny. Let's animate this. Okay, so gonna paste it in 4 times. Let's actually also take the same prompt just for further guidance. Let's paste it into our positive prompt and let's run it. Let's see what we get. What is the best thing you like to work with in AI art realm? Definitely this that we're playing with today here on stream. This is probably where I spend the most amount of time on the computer, is inside of Comfy UI. Oh, Yanal, the program is called Comfy UI. And yeah, this is probably my most used piece of software. I also really like, I mean, as far as software, like Comfy's the biggest one, but I use a lot of websites too for closed source AI, like Midjourney and Runway and all kinds of different things. 11 Labs for voiceover work and stuff. So a lot of websites that are really useful these days. Oh, and I also use Topaz AI for upscaling. It's a very great piece of software that a lot of people are into these days for upscaling. So like in addition or in conjunction with what I was showing you earlier, like this Ultimate SD upscale, it's kind of fun to mix and match, or like maybe start with, because you can use Ultimate SD upscale with videos as well, not just images. So it's fun to start with this node right here, and then towards the end, polish it off even further in Topaz. So like there's a lot that you can do with your videos to get them looking shiny and clean and sharp, you know? And I think after this video, we'll probably wind it down. Oh my god. That's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. It's like someone's pouring the glass of wine or something. That's so funny. It's hilarious. Chainer for upscale. I don't think I've ever heard of Chainer. What is that, a website or? I love hearing about new things. Chainer, open source deep learning framework for Python. I'm not familiar with Chainer, but I will look into that. Is that for upscaling? When did you start messing around with posting on Instagram? Well, I mean, I've had my Instagram account for years, obviously well before the AI craze. But I really started taking the AI posting seriously about this stuff earlier this year, like February or March. That's when I started leaning very heavily into all of this and started posting every single day, multiple times a day, and just like aggressively scaling my account. Similar node-based upscaler, right on. How does it compare then with Ultimate SD upscale? Because this is the one that I hear about the most, like in the community, but if there's other options to play with, I would love to get my hands on them and compare the results. I'm obsessed with upscaling stuff. Oh, thank you, Sir Heezy. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Douglas Art, hello, how's it going? Yeah, so this is fun. This is a cool video of a cool cat drinking a cool wine on a cool board. Just like a cool guy, cool little guy. As you can tell, I'm kind of trailing. I'm kind of tired. And I think I want to take a walk before the sun sets. So, without further ado, I think I'm going to park it here, folks. But as always, I really, really enjoyed having you. I hope you learned something today. I think this was a little more educational than it normally is, because that was the intent. But you can find a pre-record of this stream over on my YouTube. Should be uploaded shortly after this. I think it gets automatically uploaded. You can find that at YouTube/AI is cursed. Right here, AI is cursed on YouTube. Go over to the live tab, and you will see an ever-growing archive of my live streams, including today's. So, thank you so much for being here with me today. I love you all very, very much. Don't scratch the bumper. I won't. Have a good walk. Thank you so much. I will try. It's been really nice out lately, so. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it, Dink Nugs. All right, folks. What's it called again? The program that we're in right now is called Comfy UI. Comfy UI. And it's completely free. The software is completely free, open source. Only barrier to entry really is the hardware, and you're only going to be limited by how much you're willing to spend on that. But if you want to take this seriously, I'd recommend making it a worthy investment. You know, don't skimp too much on those details. But oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I try my best. All right, folks, I gotta go. But thank you for joining me today.